show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari.
Yes, greetings and welcome to the Everything Agriculture Show. It's another Friday evening, and we greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me say good evening to the folks in Oli and Liamiga. And Liamiga, if you're first time listener, that's St. Kitts and Oli. St. Kitts and Nevis. All right. So good evening to the folks in the neighboring islands, Statia, Saba, St. Martin, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the BVI, also the folks over in Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda, and also the folks in Bermuda. I have some of them here, already residing here already, so I run into some of them already. So welcome home. Also good evening to the folks in the diaspora from North America, from the folks up in Alaska down to the Florida Keys, Chicago, New York, Boston, Atlanta, Delaware, New York, wherever you're at. Greatly appreciate the guys tuning in. Also the folks over in Europe, England, and the whole of Africa, Asia, wherever you're at. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Greatly appreciate the guys tuning in, and not forgetting our students over in Costa Rica studying agriculture, and those also in UWI. Greatly appreciate the guys tuning in. This evening we'll touch on a few different topics, but mainly surrounding the cannabis, since last week they had the opening of the Cannabis Authority Office, and so it's a buzz that going on, that are different a lot of emotions going out on this one and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking, dissecting what's really going on with this kind of medical cannabis. And so I don't even like to use the word medical, otherwise all things are, all herbs are medicine. So this is just a trick as far as I see, a money-making thing. So we're going to get into some discussion later on that topic, along with food security and stuff like that. So remember, share the link, and also go over and tune into the YouTube live also, and let everyone know the Everything Agriculture Show is on. It's educational. If you're first time listening again, it's a political. We just sometimes have to address those we put to man the government and hold them accountable and stuff like that. And you're free to take part in the show. Telephone number is 1-869-662-7196, and that's on the WhatsApp call. Also, the same number to call locally if you want to be a part of the show and to add and stuff like that. So, Yasan, good evening.
Yeah, global greetings and welcome to another edition of Everything Agriculture. It's a pleasure to be here on this another Friday evening on Real Entertainment Network with another edition of Everything Agriculture. I want to say good evening, Oli and Layamiga, the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean, wherever you are around the world, Japan, China, Australia, Switzerland, wherever you are around the world locked in with us. It's a pleasure to have you here on another edition of Everything Agriculture. Banky, you started off good coughing, that good Nevis homegrown, give you that kickback. That's nice. As especially that is the main topic we are going to zoom into this evening and this evening's edition, as recently on the 25th of April, we would have seen the opening of the Medical Cannabis Authority office on St. Kitts, a historical moment in the Federation to be able to see. An office opened up and I saw some pictures and the doors are, cannabis and medical cannabis. So it's like very obvious that you're going to see it and all that. It's, very historic, but yet showed it in a lot of controversy and getting a lot of feedback from the public where various issues are concerned. And so we are going to seek to do a couple of things. We are going to get into some of those topics. And we also want to give you, the listening public, an opportunity to get into some of, the topics and put your issues on the table. So you'll be able to do so via the YouTube platform. We're encouraging folks to go to YouTube and look for Real Entertainment Network. Subscribe, like, and share the link to all of your friends and to all of your platforms. And also we want you to be able to call in and be a part of the program. We would eventually put the number inside the link so you can be a part of the true conversation here with us. So, Banky, I'll take it back to you. As that was just my introduction to the program for this evening.
Yes, son, before we get into that, let me say this year make the 75th anniversary of the Charleston Secondary School, which me and you is a part of. Also, Ira and Alan and Reese and others. I guess some of those who tuning in and listening and viewing at listening to the sound of our voice. 75th anniversary. That's a lot. That's a long time, yes, and since that school have been established. And if you go at the school, you realize just how you leave it there over 30 years ago. The hall and some
Pull the
of
mic a little closer to you, Banky.
the hall and some of the rooms and the classes and them basically still look the same. So a part of the executive of the PTA, I'm the PRO for the Charleston Secondary School Parents Teachers Meeting and the executive. So we are tasked with the idea of fundraising and get some ideas to bring in. You hear me over the years talk about the hall and renovating it and all this sort of stuff. So these are some of the ideas they put to the schools and stuff like that. And the executive of the 75th anniversary, they decide they will take up that project along with some other project in fundraising where they want to change out the windows and the doors and stuff on the hall and do some upgrades and stuff like that. Yes, and hopefully it can. So we are asked soon to come back with the accounts where money can be donated. If you can feel free to go to the school, to the head teacher at Stony Grove, and the school have thousands and thousands of people that pass through it for over 75 years. So if you have over 20,000 people being at the class with that school, and everybody even gives $75 or $50, you'll surely easily to raise over $1 million easy where you can do vast improvement. But I would encourage the government also to see this. If the students them can come up with these ideas and see the needs for these things, it shows that we have really neglected. And when I speak of the Charleston Secondary School, I want to incorporate the Ginger High School too, because both halls are practically in the same way. Just so we met it in the same way it is, and these are ways that can be improved to bring in fund where you can have use it as a hall. It's so big you can divide it into 3 or 4 different areas with a restroom inside of it, and rent out the space for offices, conferences, and use for different function, wedding, reception, and all these different stuff. And name that particular auditorium off of somebody with a head teacher, whatever it is. They'll figure out that part. But at least the executive of the schools and the PTA and the 70th anniversary committee have seen the necessary that this project is needed. So we're asking for donation, and we'll also be having some fundraising throughout that to contribute to this. So we really want to echo this. We all can get involved and drop off a donations. Eventually, some numbers will be available to where you can place account numbers to it in a bank account in different banks and stuff like that. But that information is not available as yet. But the time being, you feel free to go out to school and give your donation. If each man can give $75, and give more, whatever you give, we'll be grateful, because it will benefit our children down the road. And next 75 years, you'll say, by at one point the school had, and you can look back and say, well, we had contributed to that. So whatever it is, one cocoa full basket, as you said, yes, son. Okay, so just wanted to get in that. And also you have exam coming up, so I want to encourage the parents to encourage the children to go over their work, because some of them will write in CXC and CAPE and different stuff right now. So these are crunch times, and no sport, we just come out of sports, but it shows as Christmas finished, it's time for sports, and then straight into exams and stuff like that. Then it's summertime again, time to move up on all these different stuff. So a lot of SBA is being done all this time. So just want to encourage the parents to pay attention to what their children is doing and keep them busy and occupied and stuff like that when the summertime comes up on all these different stuff. Yes, on it's a long weekend coming up again. Monday is said to be Labor Day, so that is a holiday in the Federation of Ole and Amiga. So you'll usually have the march going on in St. Kitts, then you have a next political party, have a breakfast, and so everything now become politicized instead of really looking out for the workers' interests. Everything now become a public masquerade where you have dancing and bands and this and that. Same thing like culture at a time you don't really see the history. You don't really have a lot of history and stuff speaking about what the ancestors been through and all and different stuff. It's just like a party thing, no carnival, a charade. So a matter of fact, yesterday I was speaking, my oldest daughter sent me a message because she's doing some classes, and one of them have to do with agriculture and our ancestors and how farmers was looked upon as prestige people back in the ancient days. But I was trying to show the farmers and the scientists and the doctors and all of them, and the Enhotep, those were who were doing everything. And then that's why we have so much a vast building, because those areas was learned to teach others. So the farmers was just the scientist was not just the farmer, he was the doctor, he was the architect, he was the engineer. You see what I mean? And that is what is this teaching that passed on. But yes, and we're gonna get into the cannabis, the opening, which was last week, Friday, the opening of the Cannabis Authority. And
Well, before you do that, Banky,
yes,
I can't allow you to just slide in the comments about Charleston Secondary School and just let that slide away, because
yes, I.
apart from us just being students and you getting the opportunity right now to be the head of the executive and so on, I also was able to get the privilege of being an educator there myself as well. And so I was able to also utilize the knowledge that was, gained from, many of those wonderful teachers who had, that sort of influence on my life at that stage of my life. I was able to end up being colleagues with some of them because I was able to work along with some of them and they guide me along that journey as well. So I really want to thank, I also want to share
Good.
my
Good.
my little 2 minutes
So
of recognition for
later. Later.
recognition for the
I
Charleston
head
Secondary
upstairs.
School, 75 years,
Sleep.
and all of the wonderful and powerful people who would have passed through such institution, all those who would have gotten the opportunity to touch so many lives here on this island. And, I am grateful to would have, gotten that opportunity to also help to influence some of those lives and some who I am seeing today functioning in many aspects in our society and community. And so I want to take this time out also to, add my bit in terms of the celebration of 75 years of the Charleston Secondary School. And I want to say, to all of the children as well, who, as you just mentioned, would be preparing for exams and SBAs and all that. I know how critical it is. I want to say a special thanks to all of the teachers who continue to perform that role, and not just teachers, but all of the other auxiliary workers, those who who work in the office, in the printry room, or those who are the cleaners, those who security, all the other persons who help to make Charleston Secondary School what it is. And I want to implore um, and continue to encourage the students who now get to be a part of that institution, to value that institution, recognize that the 75 years is there. Yes, there is need for renovation and improvement and all that, but let's work together to do that. And let's hope that we could have that institution going another 75 or even 200-300 years down the road. So give thanks, and I just wanted to add my little tidbit to that as we move on. So we can now move into the topic that you were going to get into. That's Banky.
Yes, and remember to share the live and call ones and ones, let me know everything agriculture is on, and we're discussing the opening of the cannabis authority and some of the stuff licensing that is put in place and how it will affect um, the community. Let me first, before I get into this, let me say, for the last 5 years, Justin and myself been talking about cannabis and the way forward, and know that what's going to happen at the end of the day is those who fight against the herb is those, and nobody herb is them who are going to come after and control it and put things in place. Because the more the people I know and non-nationals are some locals already linking up with non-nationals to get into this and stuff like that. But as I say, I strictly about legalization, freeing up the herb and all these restrictions. Me ain't about that. But the system gonna always do what they want to do, and I offers these things. At my age, may live this life over 30 years. So, and plus I grew up either with my Uncle Mansa and my Uncle Flakes and Bololo and, Babu and all them, and the real foundation who still I use the herb. You see, understand? So me ain't looking, okay, from the ballad man who fight her bally time. It tell me nothing about the herb. I mean, me say go along with the bush with this, but me not take on them things because man overs again and man get the fight from ever since. And still I get the fight. It's just pure pretense we deal with, so we overs how these people think and stuff like that. So me not for that. All the fight man go through, man need reparation. Yeah, that what man need too. Because if you're gonna plant herb, you must plant food. And if you can't find land to give the local man who look for a piece of land at 5,000 square feet. So where you gonna find land all of a sudden to give people to plant herb? But so you're gonna plant 10 acres of herb, but you're not plant 10 acres of food. So you see the difference. So what's the difference between sweet potato and the herb? So how one thing that the father created all of a sudden that was bad now become good and non-poisonous, but if something you still need all these different restrictions just to go 5 trees, you need a license and have to and all this nonsense. Is nonsense it is? You see what I mean? And if someone like me who get fight and they show me in the Rasta class and different whatever. If me not part of a group with a Bobo Shanti, a 12 tribe, a One Love, whatever organization, so me now go get the privilege of no pay for no license and all this different stuff. So what this be? Data them a collect. You can look at data them a collect to know how much people are used cars. Having like something to do with Rasta. The man say me a Rasta. Where you have to prove to go to somebody to give you to say, well, oh, he's a Rasta. And that's nonsense. Well, how come the Christians them want to register as a Christian and the Muslim and the Hindu and whoever else, whatever. You understand? Well, how come they not register? Two is like this week someone of the Christian faith called me one if other faith is exempt from the paying for the license because the church is a business and all these things and stuff like that. So they should be able to benefit. So I say, all right, well, that's your point. But me don't make say, well, these people are serious with this thing, yeah? So me just let me call a member of the authority that hear what they're going to say. Can be just me call he back. Can be supposed to be on the same page too. So we call one of the elders. So we say, well, one of the Christian faith want to know if they get the same privilege as your guys because it's all, you understand, it's a business as the Christian is a business, so they should benefit the same way. He said, well, the church have fight her back.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it is not poisonous. So the church is a part of the church want to get into some of the money making thing. It's a business. So but I know that gonna work. Well, if they want to register as an individual or whatever, they're fine. But the church itself. So, but all these things could be changed. We kept the fight for these things.
But
as the young lady, yes.
But Banky, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that it's a very legitimate question because
of course, yes,
the provision under which Rastafari is getting this clearance, this preferential treatment, and this is why I guess they are seeking to bring it down to group is because they have brought it under Rastafari under religious, and so the aspect of cannabis that they're dealing with is religious or sacramental, so to speak, in that space. And so in order for you to be, I guess that is the argument that they're presenting, to be recognized.
No, but each of them each of them wouldn't still have to go and get the card still. They still have to get the card.
Yes, but it will be under the guise of religion. So that is why I guess they would have put it under the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs. So that is Rasta. So imagine this. Christian, is the Christian society we're fighting Rasta. Now, if Rasta want to get a mission to use Canada to go to the Ecclesiastic Christian society to get a license. Interesting.
You hear me say all the time in the Virgin, if I go down the road and I see a man with the belly big up in the air, me no act like what is. I don't so accustomed to expect anything from the society that I live in and the community. Nothing faze me, because we've been speaking about this over and over and over. But you see, we've been speaking it over, but at the same time, a lot of the general public was attention to. Because to see all these things just come out now and then people like the shop because now is like the one to do education now, everything, and then go back and we appeal if the public make noise and say, well, no, this is too high, this is too high. They make adjustment and tweak this and tweak that and stuff like that. So this is what it is. So now they have different registration fee, and one of the things for those who are listening, as the chairperson said, ain't anybody gonna be getting a license. So hope everybody, well, I find that strange. So I just figure, if people got alcohol license and this license, so what the difference when man want to get a license to cultivate, what the big deal is? What is the big deal? So before we get into that, I say, you keep, nobody's supposed to come in here to go no herb. Be careful, say, that's the banking, bring 50% who you know, and 100% who you know go good herb and Nevis. Me can find that. For me 100 people in the SK. Well, me can me got the me have nobody personally, but at the same time, but network is by Virgin boom boom. You understand what I'm saying? I can find it. And you know, and the good, you know, the herb grow. If the herb grow, leaves are grow, sink it. You understand? Is when it tears the herb, realize by this is a special type of herb because we environment. So we don't need nobody to keep saying over and over to coming from overseas. No time, not for no after no grace period, period. For infinity, never ever. We're supposed to be different, brethren. You can't tell me we want to give away everything that we have. Let your people, because we can go the herb. We don't need if somebody here want to partner with me, that's their choice. Me can't tell a man who not to partner with. But I would put in place. We're gonna partner with a local. You cannot partner with anybody from outside the same to benefit half of your natural resources. That is how I would have put it engraved. You benefit, you partner with a local, a native. Is native supposed to benefit half of these things? This is really how I see things, you understand? And that's how it goes in each country the same way, not just think it's navies, not just here. No, outsiders are supposed to come here. Because you see, those tricksters who at the helm is them ready to they want to set up. First, you're gonna need land. First, you're gonna need a lawyer for business license, and you're gonna have to sleep somewhere. So, and you realize this is like you see the cars for those who coming from outside. This is an exhibit thing, you know, selling a passport, you know. And this prices is way more than a passport because a passport is 250,000 and less and whatever. And this got prices up to 300,000, 4 million kind of prices who want to go over 5 acres. This was on passport. This is our next passport scheme in the name of medical. But how come they not do it for pumpkin and watermelon? And if you plant herb, if just for the natives alone, if once it's the natives alone, they must plant X amount of food to virgin. You see what I mean? Plus, you're doing monocropping. So if you plant outside in the field, in acreage, 5 acres of herb, or acre herb. So you don't plant the herb, acre herb, and you only got acre to play with. So you don't plant back herb again in the same place. You now do no crop rotation. You just keep playing herb, depleting the nutrients. Eventually, you can't plant back the same herb in that area. You can end up with that kind of disease and fungus. You see what I mean? And deplete, and so you end up with soil degradation. So these are some aspects we have to put in place. So when you crack out one crop, how are you going to rotate it? So if you're just thinking you got to, so I'm just looking at stuff like that. And you will get pests. I'm just looking at the safety aspect. Going up the herb, me not worry about that in a virgin cow. Me know we can go just so we can go to food. Me don't see how kind of herb. Me no herb. You know what I'm saying? We go up our own herb. So me need nobody come from nowhere to tell me nothing about no herb. You know what I mean? The machinery them is there. Whatever extracting could be done. It could be done. You got money extract things and got machine. Them minor thing. The sophisticated one and get on the radio and go kind of easy man, skizzy man, complicate things in their own fancy way, as if like, oh, you need nothing. Pure scheme, nonsense. You hear anybody who use herb all the years for over 50 years die from herb, come down kind of sickness? No. So because you have all these restrictions, you can make up things and you're gonna need approved. If you're gonna go the herb, you have to make sure they approve this restriction, these are pure nonsense. Because in the medical so-called marijuana industry, the number one problem is pesticides residue. So me not care how the food look, I know how we go. Me not care how the herb look, I know how touch it, how much on the pass through. Or some look at herb, me not crack it, you know. So who excited about herb and me not so many things, virgin. You know what I mean? Man look at things different. If me don't know they go, me not care about it. You know what I mean? People give me things all the time. You understand? Me just give to somebody else and whoever kept me know like that. Can't nobody gonna give me nothing in mess with my brain, you know. Can't me know how mankind be. You know what I'm saying? People. So if and nobody could roll no spliff give me and they kind of vibes. The only person who roll no spliff give me my brother in New York, so if anything I hit. And that's it. Nobody could give a share joint and I kind of vibes there. You know what I'm saying? So man, yeah, I mean I do them thing there. So those who want control the herb now and apply wise. We're in a business, we know that they're going to do all the time. We expect these things. We talk about these things. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what them about. They love money. They worship money. They don't care about me and you, you know. They befriend me and you. When I say me and I mean the citizens, those who look down on, they just befriend us for their own whatever. You understand? They figure it out. But it's all about money. And if you ain't in the circle, they not care about you. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. So how now today you want me to go to the ecclesiastic, whatever the name, to say me want to go 5 trees, me need a license. Me not need a license to go to 5 trees. That a nonsense. That they need to get off the board. Me not for that. That's what me tell us I and them. Me can't be part of this committee no virgin, cause me not agree to them things there. And me not agree to no 56 gram neither. Man supposed to got 10 and 20 pound of herb. Any unlimited amount of herb. Because herb is something, it'll spoil too. If you not secure properly. You know what I'm saying? Just like your food, your tomato spoil. So you have to have your herb, fill up the herb. All this restriction don't make no sense, brethren, because this alcohol thing is what messing up our community. And it's a shame to see that our Christian community fighting down such a sacrament that the government knowing. I say it is wonderful. And I listening Sam Kanda and Joni and Patrick Martin speaking. If you want to hear this, Sam and them how they go in and that kind of thing, and and Patrick, Dr. Martin, you say, but wait, these are scholars, these are scientists that go to Mars and Jupiter and build pyramids and all kind of stuff and know everything about the herb and so well, hypocrites, pure hypocrites them be. You know what I'm saying? Then I mean I said they use no herb, none of they use. But them who fight the herb and all kind of stuff and look down upon people throughout society and all of a sudden now they're embracing the same thing. Hypocrites. So my thing is me not supposed to pay for the license to use no herb. Me not supposed to got nothing about unlimited amount of trees in my yard or wherever it is. But the system on me brethren, man, the much harassment man get for herb.
I wonder if it's me freeze up because I'm not hearing. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. Okay, Banky probably is frozen. I'm trying to listening here to see what's going on. If you all are hearing me, let me know. Okay, yeah. So I think that's what's happening here. Something happened on Banky's end. So sorry about that, people. I was not monitoring on the other end to know what's happening. So yeah, we continue. Quite an interesting discussion so far on cannabis. But there's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration. Now, there is some exemption in relation to Rastafari. So I think Rastafari don't necessarily have to pay for the licenses, right? But in order to attain them, they would have to go through the not the evangelistic, ecclesiastic, the ministry of ecclesiastic. And so what has happened with the cannabis and St. Kitts and Nevis, which I think is where some of the misconceptions is in relation to the fact that the medical side of cannabis is under the Ministry of Agriculture, whereas the recreational side, which though the government spoke to, is not legal at this point, and the religious or spiritual side. So the religious and or spiritual and personal, they don't call it recreational, they call it personal use aspect of cannabis is under the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs, which is a ministry that is headed by the Honorable Jeffrey Nisbet. Sorry, not Jeffrey Nisbet, Jeffrey Hanley, who is the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister also of Ecclesiastic Affairs and Education. I am not certain of his other ministries. However, in relation to getting the license for personal use, the 5 trees, and the 26 grams, and I am not certain what other licenses he would be, his ministry would be responsible for, but that is where that is. So what the government has started to do, and which is what I have been saying all along for all these years, though when CARICOM would have done their 4-year research, so CARICOM would have done a 4-year research throughout the region in 2014 to 2018. St. Kitts was one of the few last territories in the region that CARICOM did their town hall meetings, round of trying to find out what is the feel of the people and what is the concept and what is the thoughts of the people of the Caribbean in relation to decriminalizing, legalizing, moving forward with cannabis. After a 4-year research, CARICOM would have come to the conclusion in 2018 when they had their heads of government meeting. They presented their findings and recommendations to all of the leaders of the Caribbean. The recommendations from CARICOM suggested that the governments of the region should free up cannabis and treat cannabis the same way that they treat alcohol and tobacco. That was what CARICOM suggested and recommended. However, due to the fact that I keep saying as well that CARICOM seemingly do not have any teeth, I liken CARICOM to a barking dog. You know, some people, you have a dog in your yard and somebody come by the gate and they make a lot of noise. And as soon as a person maybe step forward and open the gate, the dog run back. That's kind of CARICOM in the sense that they can make the recommendations, but I found this out too when I was following the cannabis issue. They can make the recommendations, but it is left up to the individual leaders in the territories to adapt or not uphold. And also, if they do, there's not a time frame set in which they should or would do it. And so it's left open. So even though CARICOM made those recommendations, and when they did their research, okay, sorry, that was the CARICOM research. After CARICOM did that, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis also would have had their own, what do you call it? Anyway, but they had town hall meetings and so on, where they went around to try to find out also what are the feel of the people and the pulse of the people in relation to whether it's decriminalize or legalize cannabis. Upon that survey that they had in the Federation, the people of the Federation, the findings show that the people wanted medicinal cannabis, recreational cannabis, and also spiritual or religious cannabis use. The government then, upon the findings of the people still, opted to zoom in and focus only and mainly on the medical aspect. And thus, this is where we are. So the medical aspect is the aspect that is placed under the agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture. So that's the ministry that deals with the medical aspects of cannabis. So this medical authority still reports to the Minister of Agriculture. So whatever they say, and if all of the discussions that we are having and so on, even though they're asking the people to bring their suggestions and ideas and so on, and they will take it into account, at the end of the day, they still have to go to the Minister of Agriculture, who would then sanction and or not sanction any of whatever it is that they seek to present to them. In relation to the recreational, which they have also made clear that at this point is not legal. The recreational and the spiritual use or the religious use and the use in public spaces, whether it's a lounge or whatever it is, that would be under the ministry of, well, not the lounge, under the ministry of ecclesiastic affairs.
Which one?
And so that is how, at this point, the cannabis industry is subdivided. Now, so far, we have only been hearing from the medical authority side. I'm sure to a lot of people, what I am saying is almost like news right now, in the sense to understand that, okay, the Honorable Jeffrey Hanley is really responsible for those things. Have anybody, I don't know, maybe I just have not heard, but I don't recall ever, just like on Nevis, though the medical is under the Ministry of Agriculture, I have never heard the Minister of Agriculture in Nevis say anything about cannabis and moving forward with cannabis. Likewise, on St. Kitts, I have never heard anything from the Honorable Jeffrey Hanley in relation to cannabis. So I am not certain, maybe if anybody who is listening can call in and let us know if they would have reached out to that ministry and what they would have found out and all that. But that is where that is. So in relation to these things, Banky, and I think this is one of the things that Alan was alluding to back then, that we need to test out that side of it, because all of this side here, the medical side, a lot of that to some extent
Because
does
yeah,
not
son.
necessarily relate to us per se, because of also the fact that I've said this before too, that because they have kind of pushed Rastafari under the religious realm of things, they have started to exclude Rastafari from that economic side of things unless they come as a group, so to speak, on that side of things, the business side of things, because a lot of the exempt does not necessarily extend to the business side. So even though you get exemption to use and so on, it does not necessarily translate over into the business side of things. So you may get the free license to have your 56 grams. You're gonna get your free license, because in terms of those licenses, yes, Rastafari will get those licenses free, but
Remember this, and everything is not written in stones. If you agitate, they might have to take it back to the minister. Because what they're working with is what I met there. That's how them are go with. You see,
Banky, that's another thing too.
but they could
And
change things.
this
You
is
see,
why,
that's what I like to say. What I met there, they
wait,
will
you
work
see,
with, but
this is
that's
another thing.
nonsense.
This is another
Yes,
thing where it seems as if they're seeming to want to politicize the issue by
yes,
seeking to play
yes,
that game to say, oh, well,
yes,
they met these things in place there from the
yes,
previous
yes.
government. And so,
Of course,
but
we'll
so you're
listen
trying to
when they
tell
speak. We'll
me,
listen. We'll
Banky,
listen. Yeah.
somebody give you a farm right now, and when you go on the farm, you realize that the farmer, how the farmer was doing things were wrong, and you take over the farm now, where you gonna just continue how the wrong things that the farmer been do? Or you gonna say, well, no, this thing is wrong, and in order for me to get it right, even if I got to start over and start it from scratch and start my
Yes.
new structure, you know that you're gonna got to do?
No. But the jail project is a bad thing. We've been saying up on all the passport still. Boy, yes, and them man, this is too plain to see them a canos. I keep saying this thing is a can. It's a can. How can how can Jeffrey Hanley not speak on his part when how he a member? Cause he's a Christian, you know. So how he gonna feel a send up and all this? Everybody come to here, he got hundreds of things to send off, and when in his head he know for cannabis really. When he know all who get the care gun just a go, they just a smokers. Even though the doctor just like issue care because doctor get paid. They know that's way it is, you know. This a issue care like a hot bread and butter. I said they're gonna issue cards, just issue card. They're not so I hear if you say now on it, so he now want to do it. You see how this is gonna turn out. You see how this is gonna turn out. This is a big joke because this is not gonna call in the church in the first place. This should have stayed within the cannabis authority, whatever it is. They think they control everything. Cause them a deal with herb. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And they're supposed to
you
control
see,
everything. This is stupidness.
Banky, okay. Though I am in total agreement with you that it is a lot of stupidness and a lot of concern. Part of the problem that we is the fact that the problem is not dealt with from the root, and so because we are not really addressing the root of the problem, in a lot of cases we're just hacking at the leaves, you know what I mean, and some of the branches, right? The reality is where we are is from the beginning this some set down wrong because
Yes.
cannabis was placed in a wrong category to begin with. It should have never been Schedule 1 drug in the first instance. So do not necessarily even arguing from that premise is still part of the problem, because the real argument is to fully declassify cannabis, because when we analyze what we are doing and the arguments that is being presented, the hypocrisy is from here, because the definition of a Schedule 1 drug states, and y'all don't have to believe me, y'all don't have to accept me, accept what I am saying. These are modern times. Ask Siri, ask Google, ask Alexa, ask whoever you want to ask. This is me paraphrasing. It is a chemical or a substance that is deemed to have no accepted medicinal use or purpose. Let me repeat that again. Those who, and as I said, you don't have to believe me. Don't accept what I am saying. Please don't. Go and research it for yourself. A Schedule 1 drug, this is the definition of a Schedule 1 drug. I am not making this up. It is a chemical, or a substance, that is deemed to have no accepted medicinal use or purpose. And in addition, it says could alter your state in terms of hallucination or something like that. They add that part to it. But I focus on the not having any medicinal use or purpose, because we are highlighting the hypocrisy, because they put it in a Schedule 1 drug category. It is the only plant that is in that category. If you were to look up all of the Schedule 1 drugs, all of the other Schedule 1 drugs, it fits the category because it speaks of chemicals or substances. This is the only plant, and a plant is not a chemical or a substance. It may have chemicals and substances in it, but it is a plant. But it is in that category. No, the premise that we are even arguing here on St. Kitts and Nevis is based on the premise that it has medicinal use or purpose. That is why they say they are decriminalizing it. Now, here is it, you don't put it in a category and say it has no accepted medicinal purpose. But now in an effort to free it up, you're using that premise, but yet you're still not going back to fight those who have it on that category to tell them, well, no, this is a blatant lie. I mean, here is it, you say have medicinal use and you're legalizing it or giving us the opportunity to use it for that. But you still have it in a category that says it has none of that. So that is why I'm saying the problem is very much deeper than that. And this is why now since they're not dealing with that root, that is why we still have some of these problems, because in an effort for the government here on St. Kitts and Nevis to even seek to do these things, because they are not necessarily on their own sovereign, they still have to align with certain international things in order to continue doing other business, because cannabis is just not the only business. So because it is still on the federal books as a Schedule 1 drug, then certain banking institutions and institutions that they are utilizing would not necessarily recognize funds and all of these things from that. So in order for them to sort of appear or appease those two, appear that they're working with them, they have to some extent still align themselves with some of these regulations that were put in place by other countries, which would have already made some steps in terms of decriminalizing as well. So it is also from that backdrop. So we still have to kind of look at that and look at why they are looking at it the way they are looking at it. However, the reality is, Banky, we're seeing the money grab, that they're just basically, and that's one of the reasons why they focus on that aspect, because that is where they will make money from it. And that is why the government, so to speak, is zoomed in and zooming in on the industry, because they see it as a means of generating huge income. That they see it as CBI.
Yeah, son, before I had frozen, where the last thing I was talking about? What's the last thing I was talking about before it frozen?
Well, I just
Oh, you
continued on. I continued basically on explaining how
so,
the cannabis was a Schedule 1 drug, and it is hypocrisy,
yes,
that it is still hypocrisy in
but
reality when we're dealing with it, and it is from that premise why we have some of these issues that we're having now, because we're dealing with a blatant hypocrisy. We were lied to blatantly for over 80 something years, because before 1937 cannabis was free. People could have used,
yes.
as a matter of fact, anybody could have used cannabis and hemp and whatever. It's 1937 they make up the lie and put cannabis in a Schedule 1 category, and we see that it is a lie, because I just asked everybody to go and look up the definition of a Schedule 1 drug, which will tell you that the claim was, or is, I have to say is because it is still on the books as a Schedule 1 drug, which is saying that they're claiming that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose. But the
Yeah, but
argument being
they don't.
presented by the authority who is seeking to free it up is that it has medicinal use or purpose. So that is blatant hypocrisy, a blatant lie that was sold, and they're using the lie to make more money off of it while stifling us who would have been telling the truth all the time.
But remember, they also went into parliament and passed a law saying the plant is non-poisonous. Remember, so they had to do all that to work along with the medicinal part. No, so you see that to change it up to suit the agenda. So you see, when they want to do things to suit them, it's okay. You see what I mean? Remember, they was going back and forth and say, you see, because who use herb now, gonna use herb. Them who not use herb, not gonna use herb. You're gonna have those now who have who have tried everything else, and now they just reach to the point where they're just gonna use the herb because nothing else of the pharmaceuticals will work. And I mean, many people like that. So they just and the herb is not working for them. So for those who don't even know how to grow a tree and all this different stuff, they still are forced to go get a idea and all this. This is just a lot of craziness. But yes, on
But But Banky, part of it is, and this is why we have to do this, because we have to seek to the basic to dispel the lie from where it started. You see, as you talk about people using it for as medicine, the reality is, when people do get the real understanding that this plant, one of the reasons why it is so vital as a medicinal plant, or well, let me not say medicinal because all plants have their medicinal properties, but it is so vital for us as uh, if you really want to classify some plants as superfood, well, cannabis should be superfood. And if you want to classify plants along the medicinal line, well, cannabis should be a super medicine, in the sense that even from their own scientific researches, it is pointing out that all humans and animals were created with what is considered an endocannabinoid system. We all have it in us. So whether you want to accept it or not, you are born with it. The cannabinoids that are in cannabis, and cannabinoids are not found only in cannabis, they're found in other plants as well. However, those that are in cannabis are very much compatible with your endocannabinoid system that you have in you naturally. And one of the things that their research have shown in terms of cannabis is when cannabis is introduced into your body, and we're not just, when I'm talking about cannabis, people, I'm not just talking about smoking. Whether you eat it, whether you use it as an oil, as a topical and rub it on your skin or whatever it is, when it enters your body, it functions, so to speak, as what they call like a Swiss, like let's, you know, the Swiss Army knife, a multi tool. You have in a scissors, screwdriver, you can wind open, you have in. It is said that the cannabis, when it enters the system, it doesn't just take care of the problem that you may use it to address. It also finds other things that you might not have even thought were a problem, or even just on the brink of starting, and it starts to prevent. So it also works as a preventative as well. And these are some of the things that people, I guess, have to first really understand about the plant. But they are not able to have this understanding because of the propaganda and lies that was sold over the past 80 plus years, because they sought to demonize the plant, criminalize the plant, and criminalize those associated with us, with it. And most of the people who faced the brunt of that brutality and that lie and that propaganda was, and still is to a lot of extent, the Rastafari community, because even up to today, now they're freeing up the plant, we still have all of these things that they want to put us through and all that. I got to identify. How come a Christian don't have to identify with a church to be a Christian? So why is it that I have to identify with a Rastafari group to be a Rastafari, or to benefit from Rastafari? These things, as you say, Baggy, I mean, but these are things as a result, to some extent, of lack of
But yes,
proper
and
and full
those things,
consultation.
are full disrespect. You dig? Yeah, a man no dig them things there. Them they disrespect. You can't tell me what me not be. If me say me is a woman, I'm a woman. You can't tell me nah no man. That's how the society will live in me. So how me have to go and register to say me a Rasta? Well, if me say me no man, if me say me gay, me not be a part of no gay, no fancy color
And
flag. So
Banky,
what the nonsense is this?
and
Me
Banky,
understand that.
that in itself too,
Eh?
like okay, as you just point out there, like the fact that they put it on the ecclesiastic is because in their thinking, they were not just thinking of carving out a space for Rastafari, because they know other religious organizations. There might not be many on St. Kitts and Nevis, so do use it as well. But there are other
Of course.
religious organizations and groups that make use of cannabis as a sacrament. And because of the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis supposed to uphold the United Nations Declarations of Human Rights, and one of them speak to the right for an individual to practice their religion if and when they so desire, then it means that the provisions were set aside not just for Rastafari. So why is it then, if that is the case, that you still want to go as far as to still say that a Rastafari must be a part of an organization to benefit, when he could have been a Muslim and still benefit. If he say he's a Muslim and he practice, he use it too. He should have that right based on the fact and the premise that it is not just a space carved out for Rastafari. It's a space carved out for religious groups and organizations that may use it as a part of their religious practices.
If each individual have the right and the herb is non-poisonous, or how you don't need a license to go source up trees and coconut trees and all the thing there, is a plant virgin? What nonsense is this? And you have to pay. Even rule number one, by supposed to register to go on a herb.
That comes up.
Them thing that nonsense virgin.
That comes up. Wait, hold on. The reason for that is because it is brought under the category of medicinal. And medicinal, in order for it to be medicine, it has to be regulated because it's a related structure for medicinal. Okay, like
but
for example,
the church won't have nothing to do with medicine, you know. The church won't have to do with your for privacy and this and for case under the ecclesiastic. They have nothing to do with medicine. The one they smartly they got it as a sense like not recreational, but decriminalize it in a sense. But instead of decriminalize it, they want you to go to the church and register and pay whether $100, whatever. I don't know. I mean, okay. You understand? Me not try to get into that.
Well, but that's the money making part again. That's the money making part
again. That's what I'm talking about. That's the part I'm talking about. Them is nonsense.
In that sector now, Rastafari get exempt, but that is the part now, the ticklish part for Rastafari. We know, which is where we are making this presentation that you shouldn't, even though you're exempt. Well, the exempt only come if you are a part of a Rastafari organization.
Well, that's the whole
registered as a part of a group, and that is the problem here. So you can't say you exempt Rastafari and then still want to put Rastafari. You must be a member of a group when there are many Rastafaris who are not a part of any group. So which means you're still discriminating Rastafari.
Me not part of a group. Let me use me. Me not part of no kind of group, a part of nothing. So me not qualify then. So me have to go pay for a license then.
Based on what
might be approved. And give back 75% of my money.
75% of your money. And that is that why? I don't understand. I would love to hear the explanation for that. What are they gonna say that they have to do some paperwork and whatever and so
the paperwork, that processing fees and yes, and if you have a passport, you pay for the passport application and all the things there. And if you that's how it is. You see? So can again. You come like a pure cannon, you know. Pure cannon, they can the people in a virgin. Because
can is revenue generation. Yes. I don't call it can, it's just revenue generation.
So
they set up a system for them to make money.
Where they don't find land from, when they land there. They don't find land to go weed and they can't find land to go food. These are the things we try to overstand in a virgin. Because if you can't come to an agenda to bring down your food import bill and you have to move it, the goalpost to the next 5 years. Now you're excited about growing weed? Well, I'm not excited. Because man no herb. So who excited money that their business, but man excited? Huh?
Money makes me
go excited. So me excited about these things. I mean, who want to get excited that them? Well, me understand that, but we gotta eat still. You see, so we're gonna fight. So where are the policies when it come to securing your land? You understand? Where are these policies to earmark your land for and all these things?
Hold on.
Me look at the bigger picture in the virgin.
Hold on.
See
the bigger picture here. See the bigger picture here. The bigger picture is. See what the bigger picture is.
Your cartoon,
where is the medical? Where do you have to go to deal with the medical side of cannabis?
Agriculture. Well, agriculture is a part of it.
Okay. So the questions you're asking, right? The questions that you're asking is in the same space. You got to go to get the answers, you know, because these are the same people who you're going to, who you say if you want a piece of land now to go to some farm, they're gonna tell you they ain't gonna land. But these are the same people who, if you're gonna deal with cannabis, that you'll have to go to, and if they're gonna find the land, then
You see? That
so
is funny. So
so
over the
so
to share,
so
right? You must be able to go some kind of food. So you see the difference? So who a fool who? They don't want to know. Because looking for the 100 acres to go hot pepper so easily. And you can't find so much a man me here call board and make this, oh, he can't get a little piece of land to farm, he can't get a land, this can't get a land, after you can't get a land. But both you find 300 acres to all of a sudden, we land all the time, stop fool people. You know what I'm saying? The land, you see, if you ain't gonna put the infrastructure, because you have, okay, if you're not clean roads and provide roads, if you don't maintain the roads, you cannot get into them areas there now. So you must have a comprehensive approach towards these things. So that is where when I listen to a lot of these talk shows and all these people with all these degrees, pure crap that be talking. Keep things simple. You understand? We understand nothing better beats passed down for over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of ancient teachings. Hands on is what work. The problem, most of them in the agricultural sector who have all the degrees, they can't function, they can't use their hand. You see what I mean? If you're gonna be a scientist, you must get your hand in, because science change every day is a different. The pure in a fall now, so weeds and grass will go faster and more butterflies. Earthworms will come up from underneath up to the top, come up, use them up on the ground and up and down the place. Different. You know what I'm saying? More fungus, more mildew. So you got to understand how to work under these conditions. Which crop is appropriate. If you don't do these things and every day you're not gonna know, you just go on with a textbook in your head and I tell, man, no something, that's how real life situation works. So if we're gonna move forward, that's why I keep saying nobody's supposed to come here, come go no herb. I mean, I change that. Strictly natives alone, niche. You know what I'm saying? You can't wait now to go start. So now next week you're gonna start the 14th. You're gonna start the campaigning, PRO to go in the community to ask what do you want. You see, no, all these things. So you got backwards. When we keep saying all the time, long time, agriculture should have been doing all these different so because them is who is a part of the same minister. So ain't no reason why the Department of Agriculture could not have been pushing and speaking of all these things because it's the same environment. So how now you're go behind when the people don't agitate? So you see the people. So this is what people have to understand. If you don't agitate, then I take you serious, you know. Ain't no reason, and you hear me saying for the last 5 years, because we know this is gonna happen, you know. So then not catch me in the pant down because we expect these
you
things. We
see,
expect these
Banky,
things to happen.
I've said this, and these are things. I mean, people can just go back and listen to our shows over the past years because a lot of the things that we are saying now are things that we would have been saying for
Nothing
many
changed.
years as
We
we go
just
on,
we just repeat.
right?
We just repeat.
But what they're seeking to do now is what they should have been doing over all of these years. And we
Yes.
would have been begging them, pleading to them to do this. So it's like they're putting the cart before the horse. You know what I mean? Because and you see, and this is where I say they seem to politicize it. Because now they're arguing or presenting, oh, it was what they met there. So, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
met it there from the previous government. And so, like I said, if you give me a piece of land, and when I get the piece of land, and however you were doing your practices and they were wrong, me ain't gonna continue with your wrong thing, huh? Are you gonna start over and do
Yes.
what I doing? You understand?
That's it.
If that is the right thing, I'm gonna stop the wrong thing and start the right thing. So don't tell me you got to
Yes.
finish it off because no, that and you could have already come to the people because we've been begging
Yes.
a years now. See Nevis. I mean, we have never heard anything from the Minister of Agriculture. We don't have ecclesiastic affairs. So in Nevis, who would we? That's another question. Maybe we need, and that is why I said we need to reach out to
In
Mr. Hanley as
in
well, because I
Nevis,
don't know if there's a
in
representative in Nevis for the ecclesiastic
I think is
affairs.
Ran. I think is Ran Daniel. You know, I stand to be correct, but I think is Ran Daniel is the representative in on the Nevis end.
No.
So if it's Ran, huh? Wow.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Hold on.
Yes.
There is an evangelistic association and there's
Okay.
a Christian council. I don't know if
Or so much I think.
they are,
That's
yes,
what
they
the
have
things they
all of
got.
these things, right? The Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs is I
Yes.
don't think there is a branch of the ecclesiastic affairs in the NIA. There is
I got you.
it's a federal ministry. I don't think, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it is a federal ministry. However, what I must say though is that the now Minister of Agriculture and Nevis would have been the former Minister of Ecclesiastic Affairs in the Team Unity government.
Federal. Yes.
Right. So it's only now that they would have Team Unity would have gone and the new Labour take over and Jeffrey would have been given that position. So the position was there, but it was held by Mr. Evelyn prior to this. So what I'm saying now, I don't know who deals with that or if anybody from Nevis need to get, so we would need to get some answers in regards to that. So if we need things in relation to the 56 grams and the 5 trees and all of these things, if there's a representative, an equal representative in Nevis who represents the ecclesiastic affairs, that we can go to address that. So
Well, when
we
they come
don't know
over to
about that.
Nevis,
And we have never heard even anything from the Minister of Agriculture who is dealing with the medical side on Nevis either.
well, the Miss Knight said they're supposed to come over to Nevis sometime in the near future to have discussions and stuff like that within the community. So hopefully they come and to meet up with the Minister of Agriculture and stuff like that. So that's a new one. So why all these
But you know,
years?
Banky, as an Vision, I am very disappointed with my Vision people, you know. I'm very disappointed with my Vision people
This is
because
crazy.
here is it that we are saying this and we are not hearing anything at all. So even though we're hearing all of these things going on in St. Kitts, I don't even know if there was a representative from Nevis down there when they had the opening of the office. We don't even know. I know we see IRI, who is a member of the
Yes.
the commission and gave a presentation
Yes.
based on the organization of Rastafari Unity. But in terms of if there was a minister or somebody from the Ministry of Agriculture who is also responsible for medical cannabis and Nevis, I don't know. And we are not hearing anything from Nevis. And I'm not hearing the Rastafari community, nor the cannabis growers, nor the people who are involved in the cannabis industry in Nevis, I mean, speaking out and calling out and agitating, because since, as we are saying here, they only move when there's agitation. I guess maybe that's why nothing is happening then, because our Nevis people are not agitating. And I kept saying as well, Banky, one of the reasons why the government is seeking to push this medical side is because after they have done that and they put these regulations in place, they're going to be enforcing the laws even more. And we are seeing that because you're seeing people still, even though we're in this middle of this thing, there's no moratorium to say, hey, look, police officers right now, these guys can't even have a license to go 5 trees. So don't harass the people with cannabis for now. Until we get these things in place, you can't. But we're still seeing over there, you're seeing some kind of case where, you know, somebody is being arrested.
Yason,
I mean,
if you're going to say,
I heard a question being asked today, and the chair said, well, it is for those who are going over the 56 grams and so on. I understand that argument, but how do you justify anything at all when you yourself are supposed to already have these things in place? And that's why I asked the question when she was there as well. Like, how do the government want to be so harsh on enforcing the laws when they themselves should be the ones putting the regulations out there and they have not done their part? Because if you right now, bank, you want a license for the 5 tree, you can't get it. If you want a license for the 56 grams, you can't go and get a license because
but
they are
Yason,
not ready to issue it right now.
Yason, if you're going to have all these registration, all these ID for people to have to go a little bit of herb and me have to register and this have to register, and then if me not have more a little over 2 ounces or more than 5 trees, you're giving a ticket. What do you say, like you're saying when people go police this thing, yeah? So you know whoever your son register, say where your son live, this is where this live. So you walk when you the meter people who read your meter I come in the yard, look at people in the yard, this is what you got. And so, okay, then when you got more, you got 6 trees and wait your ticket. So you just like, you go on and meet a quarter away ticket. Brethren, this is nonsense. This is a way of policing and keeping and a spy on people. If a man go herb 5 trees, they leave the man alone. You need to know who go herb. This is like, so if everybody who go 5 trees in the yard, and then you try to tell me, so anybody who got water meter, and that's what it is. And like you got a smart garbage pan who you give it to, and that's what this is going to be. Me not dig this thing, yeah. This is a madness, brethren. This is madness. How these people sit down and come with these dumb ideas, brethren? How your son, this are collecting data. This a data thing they want to collect. This is a madness and money.
Is not so much madness,
you want this lessons to register? And that's which means they're going to work with me or hire people now. More work for the police too, so the police they have to go on drive and go in the people yard. Can have a right to go come in the yard and look news. This is who got listen and because they got list now. By the book you're fat, by this the Bible you're fat. This got 500 pages. All of these are who got 5 trees. So one set gone. So by who going over camp, so going to credit cool. There we go. And then just show up. Madness, this thing you be. Madness. Nobody should register at all for that. Period. Protest that. That's what me say. Protest that. A madness that.
You see, Banky.
This is madness.
Banky. You have,
yes,
and this is what I'm saying. If we were just zoomed in on, let's say it was just recreational and religious or spiritual cannabis that we were dealing with, not have had these issues that you're talking about. But because you are dealing with the medical side, these are the things that are attached to the side. And in these years that the government have up and carry comes spoke to recreational, spiritual, and medicinal, government opted to just push me. And I kept saying this for years, that after these are done, the issue is going to be now, because remember, after they put in all of these regulations, those people who now spend their money to get their licenses, they're going to be fighting you, because you're going to be what is considered as the black market. So they'll have to suppress you because your thing ain't regulated and your thing ain't went to no testing, and so because in that system everything is regulated. So they would have to be able to test the quantities of whatever and how much is in this, and everything would have to be listed and regulated and all this, and it has to be grown under these kind of conditions and so on. And then when I don't spend my $300,000 or how much ever to get my license and my cannabis shop, and then you're gonna just pull up outside there with your thing where you just go over there and no, that ain't gonna work.
But
so you
all that go on in New York, all that go on in New York. All that go on in New York, and nobody make the knives.
This ain't New
When they
York.
like to compare,
This
and
ain't
the
New
other
York.
do the one they to compare. So free up the herb. People buy food and buy from. Free up the herb. That's what me say. You understand? Who got watermelon? Who got tomatoes? Who got bell peppers? Nobody. At the same. Who got sweet potato? Is a farm, is agriculture. And that's the whole point. You see? Nobody. So you think everybody got herb if you're not planting and got it, At the same thing. You see, you overs. So who got pumpkin? Nobody. Who got onion? Nobody. But you're find land to give man to go herb. But you can't find to give man to go food. So which are we serious about? Food security or just money? Fast money. So then you hear the young lady say, well, Junie, if you know anybody want to go over 5 acres a week, they will make a lot of money. They do not count your money and your crop could dead. Yes, and this is a joke, You see the people that count your money. Huh? Say me want to go 5 acres of weed. Well, then I mean the couple come in, the couple come down, then I mean the couple come in good, anything will happen. But they not see that because they don't understand agriculture.
Only growing food is a risky business. Growing cannabis is not risky.
Then I get it. Then I get it. That's the whole point. Then I mean the first you come in how you want it. If you expect to get a yield X amount, then I mean you get the fool because some boy they just don't get poor pity them boy. Pity. It's a sad.
Well, it's not that they don't get it, it's just a different agenda. The agenda is to make some money and to find ways of, generating revenue. I mean, remember CBA is going out. It's
This is
phasing
the
out.
new CBI.
They,
This is the
they
new
don't they
CBI.
don't know how to, huh?
This is the new CBI.
That's the new CBI, yeah. So cannabis is going to be the new CBI. I mean, you listen to, when you listen to Mr. Brand the other day, that was one of the things that was highlighted in his presentation and Let's Talk some couple of weeks ago. That's what he was saying.
Yes.
That is what everybody thought, that, cannabis is going to be like the next, cash cow, and
Yeah.
bringing in these revenue. But I guess they say they ain't seen it happening yet. So this is how they are looking at it, and you have to understand that is the only way that for them they see it beneficial to them.
Oh,
And so
them.
even that's
The
why even
non-users.
for the
The non-users.
Rastafari,
Or for
mm-hmm.
them. But what about the users over the years? All of them who use the herb. Because you see, what they have to
you
offers,
live
what they
now
have to
to smoke
offers,
as much as you want.
Yeah, but yeah,
Remember,
but
remember,
yes, son, what they
remember,
have to
remember they
offers,
got your exemption and all, if you got your license, but
No,
it
no, no,
onto the business side,
no, 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 no.
dying,
Slow down this.
dying too much
Remember,
of your business.
people who use the herb, it got the masses who use the herb don't relax on the head. So this Rasta thing, a madness. You see? Because it got more people who use the herb afraid for herb the same way. So them, everybody once you use the herb, you should benefit. That's what me talk I say. How them the inca of things and so forth. A madness that because how much people me know when I may use herb and burn my chalice, smoke my herb, that mean I got 1 lakhs on the head. And then you understand? So this thing of how they put things over and all this thing, you have to go into the church and all these things. Cause you're going into a place that I fight this, then I believe in the same thing. It's just like you put the manager in your castle, down in your castle, who fight the project, know which the project no good when it started. But now you put the same manager down in the same place where the whole thing the mash up at the same thing. So you think these people gonna come when every minute you see some 21-year-old are coming and young person, elder person, or this and that, you just saying and you just push up your face. All them people are use weed. And well, how this ever work? This is so funny to me because you're put in an environment that don't like the herb, So how they gonna sign up on this? How they gonna say? How they gonna work? How they gonna feel about that? Do you think they feel good? That's why probably part of didn't touch it. Maybe that's why Jeffrey ain't touch it because he don't want to be compromise what he believe in. You overs. Maybe he don't like the idea
Well,
that where they put it in his ministry.
we need to not presume these things. We need to get
Of
these
course not.
guys to either come on the platform or come out and speak out, or we need to call them and find out, you know what I mean? Because Banky, if so, he would have been in that position for over 2 and something years, because he would have had that position since he come in, and we would have never heard anything. It's only digging through deeper in this, we are recognizing that, I mean, based on all of this, the clarity now that we're getting, because remember, for the past couple of years, we have been begging for this clarity. We would have been asking and pleading
Yes.
to them to come and explain to us what is going on. And it's only after, 1 or 2 times we'd have had Garfield come and talk to us,
Mm-hmm.
no respect, brethren, would have come and
Yes.
tried to clear up a few things. 1 or 2 times we had Ras Iwai and Ras Aya, come and share, some aspects, but they were still limited to some extent because they would have had to wait until what is happening now, that they
Mm-hmm.
have reached to the point now where they can present certain things. And so a lot of these things, that is now being presented, and I guess that is why it is such a hot topic at the moment, because people would have been waiting for all these years, and just waiting for them to begin to start the public relations and so on. But this is where I say there is a problem, because before doing a lot of what they presented now, a lot of these things they should have sought to have these public consultations, and so before they even release these things, because we were asking, begging, pleading, even telling them to come on our platform. And as a matter of fact, as I say this now, um, I want to reach out to the chair and the other members. I hear that they're going to be looking for people to, eventually be PROs and help them to disseminate information and so on. We are here. We have been doing this for free for a number of years, seeking to keep the topic of cannabis relevant. It's the only platform that does a program specific to cannabis the last week in every month. And so if there's some funds to be shared in terms of disseminating the information, we would be looking forward to have that opportunity to continue to do what we were doing and are doing for free. So please be advised and informed, those who are in that realm, that we would be looking forward to assist in that regards. We're doing it for free. It's only fair that we could be given that opportunity to do it now, assigned by the Cannabis Authority on St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is something that we would have been asking for, though, for a number of years, Banky, for them to start to disseminate the information and really start to, educate people on the do's and don'ts and so forth. I've seen some positive reviews in that regards. They would have, I think there's a jingle that is played on some of the radio stations where they're talking about different things with cannabis and so on. There's
Yes.
I see a document, I don't remember what it's called, but it gives you the ideas, little things about the cannabis and all the rules and regulations and so forth and so forth. So they are making some efforts. So it's not that, they're not trying. They said, and I also heard earlier on in the presentation today that they're going to be setting up their websites and, they're going to be doing some more things on social media and so forth. So wonderful. And we look forward to being a part of that rolling out of such information. So please be guided accordingly.
Yes, son. Let me say, coming up Sunday 11th, you have an organic market over at Gideon Farm over in Old Road. Definitely that will be Sunday 11th from 2 to 9. You'll have different vendors, Nature's Best of Navies. You have Sugartown Organics. You'll have Spats and different, House of Yoda will be there with the veggie stuff and the Lion of Judah herbs and different stuff. So it's always a good energy, good vibes, and very safe environment. Good people, nice music. You got Slaughterhouse and along with some other DJs and stuff like that. Be there drumming. Very nice environment. Got to give kudos, to them guys at Gideon Force, some Kof and the guys and them to keep doing this organic market. And this is in celebration of the Ethiopian Victory Day. Also coming up is the Nevis Heritage event, May 31st at the Malcolm Gishard Park. So you have DJ Woodis will be on the mic, entertaining you. So you have the Multicultural Heritage Festival, and that will be May 31st at the Malcolm Gishard Park from 12 p.m. You have cooking demonstration, art and craft, agro-processors will be there. You have the kids zone, you have domino competition, watermelon eating competition, lots of prizes and stuff. So you'll have people from different countries like Jamaica, included Trinidad, Guyana, St. Lucia, Dominica. You have Dominican Republic, China, and African countries. So it shows how diverse our community have reached. We have all these different cultures here now, and this is a very nice event. You go there, you get all in different type, the African food, the Dominican food, the Spanish food. These and how it was when we were growing up, yes, son. Now you walking up, you don't know a lot of villages. You find a lot of them within the town area, but when you go to Fountain and those, you don't really find much because most people are gonna settle within the city area where you don't have much transportation needs. They can walk to work and stuff like that. So you'll find them more in the Craddock Road, Government Road, Overbad, more in the in the city area and stuff like that. So Fountain and them is still, and Westbury and them is really tradition. You don't find a lot of non-national within those communities, just Craddock Road and the town, is the city itself, where you find a lot of these. You might find one in, in the outskirts, but in the city itself, you'll find the majority really
Well,
Yes.
Banky,
So
while
yes.
you're making those announcements, I want to take some time out to and make this announcement, and at the same time, I want to also um, appeal to the members and the leadership to also reach out to us so that you can be a part of the platform um, in terms of Higher Heights Rastafari movement. They are celebrating their third anniversary from the 18th of May also to the 24th. I don't think we would have had them on the
Yes.
platform, Banky, and I think we do need to
And
reach out to them as
well,
well. And
they never been here. I'd given them the invitation more than once and let them know it reach a time they'll have to come. So I'll reach out to Reggie and Judah and see
right.
which one how they're gonna figure it out. But definitely I'd like to, yeah, I can get them the link and stuff like that.
So I'll just announce some of the activities that they're gonna have. So the Sunday the 18th, all members work on the farmland. So that's the activity that they're gonna have. All the members would meet up and I guess do some work on the farm. Monday 19th May, they will have a quiz on Van Radio, 2020 Vision Radio and Freedom FM. Then they're gonna have lecture discussion by Brother Michael Blake at the Jessops Community Center from 7 to 9 p.m. under the theme Breaking the Barriers to Positive Development as we strive for higher heights. Wednesday, May 21st, radio talk show on the mark with Mark Brantley from 8 p.m. until 10. Thursday, 22nd May, delivering personal hygiene items and food hampers to the housebound island-wide. So those people who are, as we would call shut-ins, back in the day, call
Yes.
them housebound people on the island. So they will be going around the island and, passing out food hampers and stuff like that. Wonderful. Friday, May 23rd, presentation to the Ivor Walters Primary School, the historical development of Morning Star. Saturday, May 24th, the Natural Festival, get everything local, ital plants, vegetables, arts and craft, local wine, etc. Also a sideshow featuring local artists. This event will be held at the Villa Grounds from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's a big event for you to look out for, especially the Saturday, the May 24th. And so these are the activities that are put on by Higher Heights Rastafari movement, and this is their third anniversary. So it's not, they're a fairly new organization, but they're not just a come around. They have actually survived 3 years of togetherness, and I want to encourage people to go on out and support them as they continue to, empower the community through Rastafari and through, African conscious development. So enough respect, brethren and sistrins, and I hope you guys really do have a successful week of activities.
But yeah, son, back to this cannabis and listening thing. So if me go some herb and me decide to say, well, you know what? Me don't see me not get no freebie because they were forced me to register and force most relax and head to register, which means this is an issue. So we have to go get a license. If we want to go to 11,000 square feet, is $1,000. If me get approved, and 1,500, that's $2,500 a day. If I choose that area,
Hold
okay.
on.
Uh-huh.
You must, as you mentioned the part about if you're approved, you must
Yes.
remember to point out that if you are not approved, you're only gonna get back 75% of the money that you applied for.
Yeah, because they have to
So people
get
need to
some
bear
money
that in
too.
mind.
Yeah,
So
they will hold a couple $100.
there's the
So
application fee. If you
a
apply,
$1,500.
so
Yes.
there's the application fee before you even get the license to go. So the application fee is how much?
1,500.
How much? 1,500.
Just to grow for
So
1,500 to grow. That's the application fee. And if
no,
you
what
want
about the application? What the
if you want
application fee is?
1,500 and then in the processing is 4,000 and in the next one, each category have an application for different prices, you know.
No. Hold on. The first one that you were dealing with, the one to go.
1,500 to cultivate is 1,500.
Okay. So, and that's the application
That's it.
fee, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
If you
But
choose
if you
to grow
apply
a half
and you're not
acre,
approved,
well, you know, give
if
back
you
all the
apply
money, we
and you're
have to
not
hold up some of your
approved,
son. No, you give up
you're
some of the
getting
money,
back
75%.
75%.
Yeah, we hold a couple of hundred. Where we need to hold something for to pay the light bill. Can't give back all the money. What do you mean? So, me not understand that. And then, it mean they have to go vet. So, where you look for? To one if me know to go home, to one know if me not understand, what you want to know? Me not understand that. What is there to vet? What is it be? Selling passport? What is there to vet? To if I ever get locked up for herb? what me not understand these things, yeah? Eh? so since these things that did the government come out and say they'll put $200 million in as in an area where the locals them can go and get a loan up to a grant up to $500,000 $1 million for those interested in the cannabis thing. Just you see what I'm talking about? Don't you put any money in these areas and then and all? So, me not understand this. Me not understand this. It's just me not understand it. It's just like the part with Nevis, they're going to a chicken industry to promote to bring on the chicken import. But you want people to get involved within the chicken part. But at the same time, you only want to give them the land. Well, how much people going to take up $200,000 to go invest in a building? You have to build a building, you know, and all these different stuff you have to get before you even bring in a day old chick. The amount of resources you have to go get and build first. Because if you're getting into this, you mean you need a building over 100 feet. So you need 200 feet of building. So you see the kind of resources you need. The government in Nevis now help and put no resources to help people. So who are investing in that kind of venture there? Who will invest in that kind of venture? If you can't show the numbers where people can find these resources, it's not going to work. So who are they trying to help when it comes to this industry? So that's what you see the young lady keep talking about. You all join together. Well, your son, you do the driving part, and your son want a movie herb when he don't go herb. Your son need to hire nobody. Because he herb be man accustomed to move one herb. Where you have to hire somebody to move a herb for. The man need a license to move no herb, and then he need a license to move banana and pumpkin. You need to hire Chuckman and Harley pumpkin and watermelon. So we have to hire somebody to move your herb for. This is a joke. It's a real joke. So if me want to extract some of me same cannabinoids from me same herb me grow, me need a license for $100,000. Well, sir,
Yeah.
just to extract. Yeah, okay. And if me
Yeah,
want to have a
because
lounge, me need a license for $30,000. This is like
yeah,
the counting your money before you make a dollar. You see, that is the problem. They are blinded by money. You see, and that is why you see root of all evil. They not go the herb, you know. They're not about growing nothing. Because they can't even grow herbs. But they want to control the herb, which is a plant. And I must give it to Terry Adams, you know. A long time I hear me about Terry Adams. Terry always say the herb should have never, ever, ever been a fighter because it's an agricultural plant. It really started at. So here I had a problem at customs all the time. Them a whole lot of people herb and all this different because it's a plant. It's a plant. You need to have to go dig up Terry because Terry like you go and bury up yourself, you know, like you go and mute. You need to call back out Terry Adams to advocate for the herb. You understand? Wherever Terry got it to hide it, Terry, you need to come back out. I go look for Terry because Terry always advocate for the herb and have a problem with them. So he need to come up as an elder and continue fight for the herb. I'm not sure why not hearing him and stuff like that. You understand? But I must give him that respect. As a farmer custom person, he always speak about that. It's an agricultural plant. And they all know these things. Because still in agriculture, the PS is over it. The same directors and them. But yet, just have to go to the same church. Well, you know, these things don't make no sense. It shows this is all about collecting data. That's all these things about a control mechanism where okay, then you have 400 people registered to say that they're into growing trees, 500 people, and they're going to say no people go monitor people, yeah, they look news, pure spies. Spies. me want anybody in me yard. So that not
Well,
gonna work.
it's a
You understand?
control.
So they need to
It's
done
a
with this
control.
nonsense. No,
It's a
we are
controlled
fight that.
substance. It's a
It's
controlled substance, and
non-poisonous.
as a medicine,
No, it's non-poisonous. It's not a
it
control.
has
It's
regulations.
non-poisonous. Yes, son, it's non-poisonous. If something is poisonous, it
Hmm
can't, we're gonna harm you with. Explain. It's non-poisonous. You either get harm from an Advil, you aspirin, ibuprofen, and them they're gonna harm you. That is the reality. That is the reality. In these times here, is no need to be fooling your children. It's like me speaking here and my 15-year-old and
But
listen to me. And me a lie
Banky,
and this media and she know better.
Banky,
Yes.
the reality is, I just pointed out earlier, the reality, the reality is that we're living a lie because as
Good.
we speak,
That's the whole
the
point. Like
plant
that
is
one day.
still classified. It is still classified as a Schedule One drug, and here we are
But it's
arguing
non-poisonous. But it's
about
non-poisonous.
being used as a medicinal. We're arguing it being used as a medicinal plant.
Yes.
That is
Exactly.
what the debate is.
So who
When
fool
it is
who?
still on the book saying that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose, but because we're agitating for it to be used and we agitate for recreational, or the case that brought the government to have to do something about cannabis, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, had nothing to do with medical cannabis, The case that brought the government to do something about cannabis was the Sankofa case, and it had to do with using cannabis in his personal space. It had to do with personal use. So whether they want to call it recreational or personal use and or spiritual or religious, those were the premises that caused the government to take action in regards to cannabis. They though, when after doing that, opted to focus on the medicinal side and push these two in a corner. And that is why medicinal is under agriculture and these two other areas is under ecclesiastic. And we never hear nothing about ecclesiastic or from ecclesiastic until now that we are bringing this to the fore.
Yes, son. Any comments there before we go any further?
Um, we had Gigi saying good evening. We had, but I'm not sure who this person here with this flag, with this globe, saying interest. Oh, okay, I think I know who it is. Interesting greetings, host and co-host. Bless up all. Um, and Gigi was saying that Banky was frozen. She thought it was her internet. I guess that's when you were frozen a bit earlier. Who
Yes.
else we got inside here? We have Sivio Farming saying blessed night. We have Jetty Taylor
Yes, I.
saying even Jeffers say good morning all. Woodland Hill saying
Yes.
good evening. We got Damian Jeffrey saying blessed. So just want to say good evening to all of the folks. Carlisle Paris locked in. Violina Ali, Woodland Hill, all of these wonderful people who are logged on and who are listening to us. We truly appreciate your time and presence. You could have been doing anything on a Friday evening, but you're here locked in with us and you're engaged in our discussion. I know a lot of people to Banky might not even want to hear anything about this cannabis, but there's a lot of people too who are very much interested in the topic as well. And a lot of people are also kind of surprised to some extent as to what is going on, with
Yes.
St. Kitts and Nevis, because there's a lot of things that's been out in the media and, they're seeing a lot of things. So it is really, one of the hot topics, of the day. And we have to address it. I do look forward to engaging with someone from the ecclesiastic side of things, because we really need to hear more about that side and
I'm
that
gonna reach
question
out.
in
I'm gonna reach
relation
out to
to.
the office. I'll reach out to the office in the week and see
Mhm.
where I can get some information and stuff like that. Just so call the office of the Cannabis Authority to test the
One of the
knowledge and
things you
stuff
must
like that.
find out,
So yes,
one of the things you must find out is where the divisions in that if there's somebody that is represented that in the
yes,
ecclesiastic affairs that can go to in relation to that aspect, because we are understanding that the
no
medicinal is
problem.
under agriculture, and in Nevis we know that Honorable Eric Evelyn, Minister of Agriculture and Nevis. So in really anything medicinal, cannabis wise, then you have a minister to deal with. From relation side, I don't know Nevis to have ecclesiastes, and I don't know if, as you kind of alluded to, if the Evangelical Association and our Christian are the equivalent.
Well, we'll
Nevis,
find out.
I am not
We're
certain. So
gonna
that is
find out.
something that I would need to verify. If so, then
Yes,
we would probably have to get one of them to come on to really explain their role and what is to be expected in terms of moving forward. But it's just a kind of way, as and it really kind of came out to me today, especially when I heard Safari, called in and Freedom and kind of pointed it out. Was like, Rastafari get so much fight for this thing, and it's time for us. We gotta go to the church. We gotta go through Christianity too. Yeah. Oh man, bless up yourself, King. We have to go through the church, or through a Christian organization. Christianity who have been fighting cannabis, fighting God plant. I mean, even that I don't even understand, because they were the ones who should have been even more lenient with Rastafari to say, "Bye, it's only a plant, God make the plant, and I mean, they were fighting it more than even anybody else, and now you got to go through them to get a license. That is quite something to discuss. I don't know if even the ministry would want to consider or reconsider moving that from that ministry. But some food for thought as we continue, Banky.
yes.
There's a
Let me.
lot that seemingly still has to be done in regards to cannabis. Like I said, seemingly they kind of put the cat before the horse, because what they're seeking to do now and asking now to try to go around and have town hall meetings and all of these different things and so on were things that we were asking for years now. You don't put out these things and then seek to go out, because now you're getting some pushback, and then try to politicize it and say, well, what I mean, it's not necessarily you per se. You met it there and, fix it. You fix it. And Rastafari, I'm going to touch Rastafari a bit as well too, because some may argue that they need, or they didn't get consultation and so on. They didn't come around and talk to them and so on. But to some extent, because of the fact that we don't have any Rastafari, we have a lot of Rastafari who do not associate with any of the organizations. A lot of the meetings and discussions the government had, they would have had with various members of the Rastafari community, and they would have felt that the Rastafari organizations represented the Rastafari community. And I think that is one of the issues why we are faced with that challenge that we have at this point, because most of the established Rastafari organizations do have a sort of religious slant to it, and I guess that's why they could kind of be classified as religious organizations. Apart
But
from
a lot of the things with
um,
your son, when they had the
uh-huh,
commission going around, you will still find a lot of people, the users of the herb, not going to come out and support these things, because the community would look and say, "Oh, she used herb. Oh, me no, he used herb." Even if you just got there to sit down to have to be educated, you're going to be judged. This is how our community is You see what I mean? It's just like you see, as I tell you, I remember someone called me and asked me about the herb and stuff like that. Because these are the only things. Because the people in the church use herb. You understand? And all this different stuff in the bank, police use herb. I mean, everybody use herb.
No, okay,
Judge
yeah,
use herb.
Banky,
Everybody use herb.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand that part. I understand that part, and I understand the pushback when they were doing the consultations and so on, right? Like that. I could understand why
Yes.
people wouldn't want to come out and associate with it and so
Exactly.
on, right?
Yes.
But what I'm
Yes.
talking about though, in terms of Rastafari, then I guess maybe what I'm saying then the approach that the government should have taken then, instead of just in regards to Rastafari specifically, instead of just seeking
Yes.
to meet with the heads of the various established organizations, then they should have had some general meetings with reach out to call out the Rastafari community then say, all are you? We're looking for all are you, not just members of any organization. We're looking for all
The
of you
use
and reach all of them.
the users of herb, the users of the herb, that's what it's supposed to be. The use cause other man
Well,
fight with
okay,
the herb the same way. You
Banky,
see what I mean? A lot of
Banky,
man fight for the herb
yes,
because they relax
hold
on the
on,
head.
hold on, hold on,
Yes.
hold on. As much as I agree with you with that part as
Yes.
well, we
Yes.
cannot and I will not allow
Yes.
Rastafari to be sidelined because even though other people use herb in the community and society, I don't think any other group of people in our society would have been targeted, harassed, brutalized, and even killed in some cases as Rastafari would have. So to make that special carving out space for Rastafari is critical. And I am not
Yes.
going to shrug that in any way, shape, or form. So yes, there are other people who would have used it, and I am not trying to belittle
No,
that in
in
any
our
way, shape, or
community,
form. All I am
if you have to
seeking to
watch
do.
think it's a Nevis community, as
Mhm,
small as it
mhm.
is. Most of the use of herb, my uncle them had locks when me grow up and I use herb. The man them when I grew up around the majority not had locks on the head, and them a cook ital, them a use herb and that's why
Yeah,
me could speak from that part of it. You see what I mean?
and I
So
agree
this
with
is
that.
why so it's not
I agree with that. But
yes.
however,
And
you
they get the
find
fight too.
a lot of those
Yes.
people, they never get so much fight. Okay, you know how some of these people will get fight? If probably they were known to be maybe sellers or growers, so to speak.
Yes.
But the average
Yes.
people, watch out, remember, you just have to go locks on your head and walking on the road, you start
Yes.
to hide.
Yes.
If you see a Jeep and look like I always listen to Muta the other day. Muta make me laugh. And Muta say he could identify the police Jeep them back then because the two lights then were closer. So when they're sitting down on the
Mm-hmm.
corner and they see the Jeep, 'cause remember the Jeep lights for true. When you them old
Yes.
Jeep that they used to have back then, the Land Rover and so the lights them used to
Yes.
be right. And so just walking and you would have been harassed just because you're a Rasta.
Of course.
They'd stop and try to skin you out and sort you out. The average man who ain't
Yes.
had locks were not necessarily
Still.
going through that sort of harassment and persecution unless, as I say, in the society they might
Yes.
have been known for maybe selling it or growing it or whatever associated with it
And
in some way, shape, or form like that,
wearing the colors and the
right?
kind of vibes and stuff like that.
Or something like that. But
Yes.
Rastafari, I am for carving out that space, and I love what is happening in Antigua, where, for example, the Rastafari community have sort of come together and so on, and overall, Rastafari is getting that sort of special recognition. I mean, they man even go out and bring excavator and all kind of other tools for the
Yes.
Rastafari community so that they can expand in the cannabis
Yeah, man.
industry and so on. And I am hopeful that these kind of things can be extended to St. Kitts and Nevis, Rastafari as well, and not just those who are part of any organization, but Rastafari community and a whole. And so even if others do farm up their communities or whatever, um, or the organizations and so on, but we really need to, give thanks. And I have to give thanks. So everything, I guess some will say, well, shouldn't expect everything one time. Um, but we give thanks as well, though, that they have sought to make some special, space for Rastafari. A lot more need to be done, and I guess that's what we're agitating for. So it's not that we're not
Yes, right.
grateful or thankful that some things have been done, but a lot more can and should be done, and a lot of what is being done now in terms of seeking to reach out and consult and getting the feedback from the public and so on, what things that should have been done before you put out these things. And that's where I stand where that part is concerned.
Yes.
But yeah,
Before we go,
man, bless
yes,
up yourself.
yeah, guy. Before we go, let me just remind the general public that the 75th anniversary coming up for the and they have Charleston Secondary School, so they have some different activities coming up within the next couple of months. So one of the project they want to do is renovate the hall, the auditorium, and do some other projects that need doing within the school system and stuff like that. So want to change out the windows and the doors, and with hopefully can get AC and put in tiles and nice it up. You understand, where the students and also the community can be more comfortable, and hopefully the government itself can get involved and with this renovation and to help raise these funds and stuff like that, because it's thousands of students have passed through this over the last 75 years. So ain't no reason each one of us can make a small contribution to make this thing possible. So hopefully within the next school term, when school out, maybe within the summer season, that all this renovation could be done and the students come back out to a brand new hall with AC and a name on it, auditorium, whatever. Let's make this thing happen. I know the agriculture, the marine department would have a fish festival coming up in June 13th, and the PTA executive will want to help raise some funds to contribute to some of these activities when it comes to renovating the school. So definitely, I'll reach out to Michael Henville. He said we come up with some ideas when it comes to some whatever small thing where we can dare to sell and stuff like that. Because it's all about seafood and stuff like that. So yes, and definitely very engaging as usual. But this is a new industry where the people, the natives themselves, should benefit, and we should be niche and not look at other Caribbean islands or other countries we've done. Now because others do all this, that mean we can't be different, and we're our own benefit and benefit only. You see what I mean? Ain't no reason, because right now we are not taking the 2025, and now that the 2025 don't even exist, kind of even started for Nevis. So now we had moved to 2030. You see, so Nevis 2020, 25 not even had moved. You see, so Nevis failed right off the bat when it comes to that part of it. And now they move straight to 2030. And now yet, and what I need to understand again, there's still the 2020, the second phase. This is March, which is in the second month of the second quarter. Okay? And Indian Castle second phase ain't still started as yet. No me to understand the one build a greenhouse, you understand, to had seedlings and put in seedlings and all this different stuff. I mean, I understand that. If you, I mean, what is that? You see, so you working out, not gonna happen until it not gonna happen. Culture will come and gone, and then next year it still not gonna happen. Because rule number one, you must have somebody who committed to these projects. You must find somebody who's committed and who understand the know-how, and that's it. But to hatch things are not going to stop and waiting to put up a greenhouse. When they're going to when they put up the greenhouse, or where you start hatch things for, you see, just start waste of time. So it shows the failure. So how me got trust now a minister who failed 40 acres, who can't start a project to go start about cannabis. I can't wait for that day to come for me to listen and eat popcorn and listen to the Minister of Agriculture talk about cannabis. Because just to come in the boat at Agriculture Park last year, for 10 seconds, he ball out and run like a little girl. He high like a kite. Make no sense. I mean, what is that? School
And
children are act like that. Not even school children are acting like that.
Banky,
And you are the Minister of Agriculture, you're going to run out of
Banky,
into cannabis trees. Yes.
this is why we are where we at, and this is why the government is seeking to take the approach that they're taking. Because you said this a little bit earlier, and I was going to allude to that. This is why the approach is for them. They're just concerned about the money that they can make. It's just like with the
Well,
CBI.
what was that?
Remember,
We know
part of the
that.
problem,
Of course, we know that.
why we are where we are with the CBI Banky is because the approach that was taken in the past was, as long as the due diligence is done and they get the cut out of it, they ain't concerned with what's going on with it, you know. And like this with the cannabis, they themselves, as you mentioned, don't know about it. So all on is how they could make a money out of it. And that is the main approach. And that is why the approach was to put these licenses in place or whatever so that they can start to make the money. And well, if we get some pushback from the people and we need to try to make some adjustments, okay, we make a little adjustment here and there to make the people feel comfortable because we want to win the next election again. So we can't let them, like that. So we got to try to do whatever. But
don't have to go up to the drawing board.
That's kind of the mindset.
They don't have to go up to the drawing board with this register thing, with this license for 5 trees and all this nonsense. They need to go up to the drawing board with that their madness, that stupidness. You see, and then that is stupidness. Because why don't I need to register the coconut trees and them? Yes.
The argument they're gonna say is that you ain't gonna need your Rasta, so you're gonna get exempt. So you don't need to make no noise.
I don't care about that. I don't tell me Rasta nothing. I don't understand about that. I don't mean a business about that. But what about it ain't about me? I don't care about me.
You see how,
so this is about that. I not talk for me in a virgin.
You see how society is?
Yeah.
Watch this, right? And not that I'm trying to knock his business and anybody industry, but look at this, right? They decriminalize cannabis, They decriminalize, right? Now,
yes,
these licenses that we're talking about, some of them they have not organized themselves to put them in place, but they're going out and locking up people for cannabis in the meantime. However, come on, they still have it illegal on the books, and it is sold almost like it's legal in 98% of the shops, rum shops and bars around St. Kitts and Nevis. Police and all go and buy it.
Is that the people high grade, no man? That's the high grade in the Yason.
Hold on.
Is that the people high grade Yason?
You see, because they're drinking the rum, it's okay for them to give it a slide.
Yeah, you have to.
But
you
not got your regulations in place.
Drinking. Eh? You hear me, boy? Pack his sang rum, we drinking.
You ain't got your legislation in place, but you still want to lock up people for cannabis in the interim.
Big up my boy Packers, rum we drinking. Talking about your son. He's after the rum thing, man. Rum is medicine, your son. That's medicine we're talking about. That's medicine, your son. Eh? What you talking about?
So the only argument I'm making, is since you could let that slide, how come you can't let cannabis slide? You say cannabis is medicine too. So how come you can't let cannabis slide? You can't let a man do his thing and not say nothing to?
The import duty high. You see? The import duty, alcohol duty import is high now. High now. You see?
These are some food for thought, and this is how our society functions, right? And so we sometimes have to put these things into perspective, so that people can see that we see what they're doing and we see what's going on. And that's what I'm saying. So if you could turn a blind eye to Hammond, you could turn a blind eye to cannabis too. Because cannabis,
so what do you think
as a matter of fact, you don't decriminalize cannabis, but decriminalize Hammond, Hammond still on the books as illegal. Cannabis ain't illegal on the books anymore. Cannabis decriminalized. You ain't put your law in place yet. You ain't put your license in place yet. But you still want to lock me up. You're not gonna license for Hammond. But Hammond is okay to sell in the rum shops in Nevis. And nothing. No police will lock up nobody. Me not knock nobody. I'm just bringing a real scenario to the public so that people can understand why we are asking for some of these things.
Even at Hammond still last year, we call it the food festival and big display. You see what I mean? We love rum. And that's what you can find. For instance, me know myself going to school and finish school. People sitting down by the square, the day Alwalwin Square, and it's a drink. Normal. We love rum, but we fight herb, but we smoke cigarette. So one of the things I wanted to before we wrap up, while the music play, then we wrap up. So if I'm in the hillside and at this designated area, so if police see you on a beach or chill by yourself, we don't want to give you a ticket because that area is in the public.
It's not designated. Yes, it's not a designated public
So
space.
you by yourself, not the soda by and get ticket.
You could get a ticket.
The madness.
The police may have to be lenient with you. The police, it might be lenient. The police might say, well,
We don't need no lenient with nothing. No, we don't need lenient with me.
If the police want to be vindictive, it can't give you a ticket because you're not in a designated smoking area.
But
according to the law.
What they did again, because of all these accidents, then they come back and say, well, all of these, some of these accidents, they've been tested, and some of them are using cannabis, some are using tobacco products, alcohol products. They just show, if you caught a smoke cannabis, 20 or 50, some junk high fine and imprisonment and then craziness there. Ain't no proof to say, well, these are what causes accident, This is just like, again, to go back to where you hear the fact, well, big up Vance, I know he's in heaven right now and holding the gates till me come true. Yeah. When he was studying in Barbados, he said somebody running on the campus, going on and he decided, yes, is marijuana, he be here smoke. Oh, you go for this kind of assessment. The gentleman, you understand? Have some kind of whether issues of you unjust. You see how the mind frame of our best people who tend to put up and pedestal.
A lot of misconceptions. A lot of misconceptions over the years.
Nothing changed.
Well, you see,
that's the whole point.
But that's what I'm saying. This is why we were begging Banky for all these years for these people, because a re-education is absolutely necessary where cannabis is concerned. Because even where we are, the lie still sits on the book. The lie is still there because cannabis is still recognized as a Schedule 1 drug, and that sentence in itself, the definition in itself, if we are arguing that it is decriminalized on the basis of medicine, then that statement up there is a lie, because it is saying that cannabis have no accepted medicinal use or purpose. So we're dealing with
let me say this
a lie.
Also, they ain't supposed to be holding the ganja seeds on them. And Navy's people and Navy's them hold your seeds. Sink it stone. Seeds is not illegal, never was. And quarantine them and custom to done with it. You understand? And charging people for the seeds. Seeds is not illegal.
So
police them know that.
How you gonna start an industry without seeds? Where you get the plan from? Where you get 26 ounces from if I can't go it? That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, 2 ounces from 56 grams.
This whole thing is a mess.
And all the years. How are you going to industrial and can't plant a tree?
And seed is not illegal. Ganja seed is not illegal. So why are you holding people's seeds? Custom Navy is doing it. Custom quarantine block it. And all this thing because yet custom quarantine Navy said they're going to get custom quarantine Navy said they're going to get information from same kids.
They need to go and educate. So everybody need educating, not just with the public, The police, the customs, all the quarantine, all of the agencies need to. So imagine that. And this is why I'm saying, and for all this, you're strengthening my argument, that there needs to be a moratorium on this because your people are not even informed as to what they should and shouldn't do. So in the interim, you shouldn't be locking up anybody for the cannabis until you get your things sorted out. When you get your things sorted out, then you go come and say you're doing X, Y, or Z. But in the meantime, there should be a moratorium free up your herb in the meantime.
Yeah, and when they come together, they're not supposed to charge money for the herb neither. Nobody need to get an ID. If the herb is free up, where the hell you need to go and pay somebody to get to go 5 trifa? But what are you doing? Issuing tickets? But that's what you see. Me can't see it another way. That's
making money. That's what it's all about.
But that's what nonsense is this.
It's a revenue generation business.
Anyway, music done play, folks. We appreciate you guys.
Definitely link up next week.
Yes. So next week, see you guys next week Tuesday.
Link up next week on another edition. Next week Tuesday is another edition of the topics. We definitely gonna be looking forward to having eventually some other members because I don't think this topic is gonna go away anytime soon. So we're gonna definitely be looking to get maybe some members of the Rastafari community, people like Ras Irai and maybe Sankofa and Ras Aya and so on. We're also gonna seek to get the members of the what you call it, the ecclesiastic affairs, so that we can get some clarity on that side of things. And we want to continue to encourage people to log on to our YouTube channel, look for Real Entertainment Network on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share the channel. That's where we're gonna be. We're gonna be in that space in much more recent time. Bank, enough respect for having me as your along with you as your host for another edition of Everything Agriculture. Enough love, Ira and the team. Belated Earth Strong. You and Reese, I guess y'all, might got some time to party and full joy yourself. Enough respect to the Real Entertainment team. Enough respect, Banky. To my Daniel,
Yeah,
my mom.
big up the youth Anderson, Real Youth with his podcast. Who also break down the cannabis authority thing last week. You have to big up the youth, man. The youth keeping it real, and that's what it's all about. You need more people outspoken like that. So big up the youth Anderson. Enough respect. Hopefully one day, yes, and we get him here to contribute, be a part, be a guest on we show where we can raise the same way.
That could be something we look to do as well too. Yes. So enough of everybody, guidance and protection.
every time.
Enough
Yes.
respect.